So I've been with my family, right, for like 3.5 weeks now, and I didn't talk about the things which I wanted to talk about. Um, I sort of just, yeah, I sort of just didn't. I avoided the whole topic, not really knowingly, but it's sort of, I just never seemed like the right moment, and I sort of worked toward having a more righteous moment, but it sort of just didn't happen. My mom was like working the entire time, and we were talking, and we had time to talk about like a lot of other things, but like the really deep things, I sort of just didn't bring them up because I feel like it's too like we don't have enough time. But honestly, I think it's fine because the holiday itself was like really nice. Like usually, I always when I'm at my family's, I have like issues with my mom and my stepdad because of just well, first of all, of course, their political views, and second of all, just I don't know, because these old patterns emerge, and then you just piss each other off and I don't know, get hurt and stuff like this. But this time it sort of has been different with these patterns. Like, I really felt like I noticed how therapy is actually doing something for me. Like, I had like some conversations where I noticed I'm sort like the pattern sort of emerges right now. And I was just able to like directly in the conversation double down on vulnerability instead of getting in this position of having to like defend myself and my standpoint and argue for the validity of this standpoint. But I was just able to like just be like, hey, this is how like I interpret what you say. Like that this is not really helpful to me, sort of. And then my mom actually also took that opportunity then to sort of like clarify how she didn't want to like hurt me with this or to push something onto me with this. Which was definitely not what she said at the beginning. Like, let's be clear. That language works different. But it fixed the issue, so I don't give a fuck. But my mom always expresses those things then with this absolute confidence that this wasn't even what she said. And like, no, that's obviously not what she means. Where you're like next to her and being like, how? Anyway. But yeah, but if you sort of just ignore that part, then she explained how she means it and how it was just meant as like a helpful tip way possibility, whatever. Um, Instead of as like berating and this is the only way and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. Like honestly though, I think my mom is autistic too. Like if I'm autistic, my mom is definitely autistic. Like you know what I mean? Like the way I like you know see myself like my behaviors and my old behaviors in her, bro. Yeah, we are definitely like big neurodivergent. Absolutely. Um Now, honestly, I feel like it would really like I was sort of like this before I knew I'm neurodivergent, I think. I definitely had that attitude, but on the same like at the same time, of course I got that attitude from her as well. Like I learned it from her, right? So um but yeah, it was I don't know, I thought it's gonna be like really exhausting and like really like that I just like lose all my social energy on this and that like after a week or something I want to go back. Um, but yeah, with this, like, I don't know, just apparently therapy did something. And that's why I was able to like sort of communicate really well with them and just notice how I feel in that moment or how my body feels in that moment, and then take the like proper not answers, but like react properly to this, and like care for myself as well. And honestly, I never missed gaming. Like, I missed you guys, but I never missed gaming. Like, I was never thinking like, oh, like I'm gonna alone game now. Like, no. But what I did have more time for and did spend more time on was, for example, like reading and going outside and going for a walk and reading again. I finished my first book. I started the second book. I'm nearly done with the second book. And they're so interesting. Like, I was reading the like To Fight Against This Age, which is on fascism and humanism, right? And I finally finished that one, and it's so amazing. I love it. And then I started the drama of the gifted child, which is like a psychology book about the parent-child dynamic, and it's also so interesting. And it's like none of that is like easy reading or something, but I loved it. And then I started to get into like more creative things as well, like for example, like crocheting and stuff. And I really feel like I'm gonna start crocheting as a new hobby. So I'm like, yeah. It changed me, guys. It changed me. That's totally okay. Sometimes you're not ready to talk about stuff. I totally feel that. I mean, sometimes you need to push yourself, but sometimes it's totally fine not to. Yeah, I feel like I always worry that I like avoid things. So I'm usually not the person who does that because I'm so like sensitive to noticing when I do. But I'm sort of just sad that there wasn't like more time for me and my mom, sort of in like a one-on-one talk. Because she was always like in between work, sort of, so you never wanted to bring up these like huge topics. But I actually talked to them about maybe being autistic, and I thought both of them would sort of react like very weirdly towards that, but they didn't. So that was nice. Like, it was surprisingly good. It was surprisingly good family vacation. Well, it was for me. It was a vacation, right? They were working. High FPS player. Games. What do you mean games? I mean, just chatting, my guy. My mom always says something hurtful and then immediately adds, I didn't mean it like that. And I'm thinking then, think 2 seconds more before you speak. Like, what the fuck? Oh. Yeah, it's like therapy was helping me too with many things. I would always recommend it. Therapy is amazing, definitely. That's for sure. Like, therapy, amazing. Love that. With like the parent-child dynamic, oh my god, it's so exhausting. Like, even with therapy, I think it's one of the hardest relationships to take your knowledge into. Because I feel like so once you start therapy, the first thing I think it changes is your relationship to strangers. And there you can like instantly sort of like take the new things you have learned and use them. And then sort of the second thing is like work, I think. And then like friends, and then family. And I feel like friends can already be sort of tough because there's like, even with friends, there's like, depending on like how long you know them for, there's like a pattern which has formed. And around this pattern are like lots of expectations, right? So like changing the way you want to, like the way you behave and changing the way you want others to behave around you and treat you and how you treat yourself is going to influence that pattern a lot. And the worst is honestly with family, I think. Like with friends, it's already not easy, and you're gonna lose some friends probably, and then you're gonna make some new friends instead. But with family, because you sort of like, because they hold so much weight, because it's like you only have one mom, you can't like exchange her for someone else. You have only like one dad. Um, and it just makes it like, except if you have lesbian moms. But you only have like this family. And even if it's only like a grandma or granddad or something, it's like you're sort of like dependent to make it work with this specific person. And you're really, yeah, you're like dependent emotionally on it as well. And it's so tough, I think, because with some people, like even if they're in your family, it won't work. It just won't work. And that's just, I don't know, it's like a really hard situation, I think, where there's like this huge ethical question of like, do you stick around them and sort of like lower your standards to have that person around you? Or do you not lower your standards and you don't have that person around you? And this is like, I don't know. Exactly. Like with other people, you would just be like, well, okay, then not anyways, like goodbye. Let's find a new person. But with your family, it's just, yeah. Not sure what to say about games. Well, you don't really need to say anything about games. Because I think, like, did anybody talk about games? Like, I talked about games before that I get like motion sick from them, and that I didn't play like as like just me play games. But now we're just doing like a mental health check-in. So feel free to join that one. But yeah. So with my dad, I've broken contact because I think with my dad, it's just from how I understand him, he will always hurt me. And it's not really something like he could definitely do something against it, of course. Like he could start therapy, he could like, you know, like try to understand my point of view in all of this. But I do think he might actually be narcissistic. And the other thing is that I did talk to him, and he did not only not understand, but sort of use it against me. And I had like at the beginning, I only took like I had like no contact, but then I left him the option to like contact me on social media. And like after like sort of like after a year or something, I like unblocked him and left him the option to just be like, like maybe now he sees what's going on. Like maybe now it has like this whole topic has cooled off and he's sort of come to his senses. But he didn't. The way he answered was just like way more vicious and hurtful than before. He was really like sort of like acting out and lashing out on me or not wanting contact to him anymore. So this only sort of like that was specifically his pattern. Like his pattern is everybody else around him is at fault. Like it's not his fault. He's the victim in his own life. Like he's only not successful because of my mom and because of me, because he stopped his studies for me. And then he's only not like really well off or whatever because of his like job right now, and like they just don't see his potential, blah blah blah, whatever. Like he's very lost in that perspective that as a kid he was very smart and he was the smartest kid in school, and now he didn't do something with it, sort of. And I think he feels like a lot of shame about this, also because of his parents. But he always kept being dependent on them, like first of all financially, but also emotionally. And I think that's sort of the reason why he also can't really break out of that pattern. So, yeah. So that's just why I stopped having contact with him, because I believed just what he said. And I don't know, I think it's honestly best for both of us if we don't have contact. Because he definitely doesn't like me, like, for what? But with my mom and my stepdad and there's my sisters, right? So, like, they have definitely, like, there's more pressure to make it work with them because of my sisters. But at the same time, I think it's, like, way easier to make it work with them because there hasn't been so huge forms of neglect. There was neglect for sure, but, like, not in the extreme form as with my dad. So it's like, I don't know, like the worst thing basically which could happen is my mom being hurtful to me, and that's like, she can be really like vicious, but it's still like, it's sort of easier to handle than, yeah, than my dad's acting out. So I think that's sort of, I guess, why I have still contact with my mom. Also, to my mom, it's like weird because when you talk to her about it, she's like very easily defensive about sort of stuff. But at the same time, she does change, which is really like frustrating because usually you want people to hear you, right? Like if you want to change something and you come to them and stuff, like you want them to hear you and listen to you and be accountable in front of you. And that's honestly like, might even be like more important in that moment than what happens afterwards. Like, oh, of course something needs to change, but like, it's like really important to feel like that person wants to change. And with my mom, you never feel like she wants to change, but she sort of does change. So I think it's more of like a delayed response to the talk you have with her. But yeah, anyway, like change happens and it's way better than before already. But I also think that might be the case because my dad is out of the picture now. Because that's honestly like, that was really fucked up that my mom had to still have contact with my dad. Because of me. Like that's really annoying for her. And like I guess like hard to heal from stuff as well. But yeah. I don't know, I can only recommend reading the book I'm reading right now. The Drama of the Gifted Child. Like I think it gives like so much insight into the struggle between like parents and their children. And also like how everybody's a child basically. Like even the parents are still children and are still influenced by their parents. And that influences then also how we are influenced by them. And I feel like there's so much insight into this. And sometimes the book is honestly like, sometimes it's very confident in the consequences or conclusion it makes. But I don't like that too much if there's like, if you talk like there's no other possibility about things like psychology. I don't really appreciate that tone. But apart from that tone, it's like really good. I personally, you can absolutely like always ask if you want to know something. And then like asking never costs anything. I love that you like, you're like, I don't know, like Looney's like always so considerate. I really love that. I don't, well, it's like, it's a complicated question actually. Because I sort of don't. At the same time, I do have like a lot of maternal instinct. Like I would, for example, I really like to teach people and explain stuff. So I would really love to be a teacher maybe, or like even maybe like a babysitter or something. And maybe I would even like to adopt a child one day, but I really like, I'm absolutely not behind this picture of being pregnant. Like, don't just miss me with that, please. Like, I I have learned way too many things about pregnancy. What can happen to you? What is like a very normal emotional hormonal response? All of that crap. Like, no. Like, our society, honestly, like, it's dangerous to be pregnant, I think. Like, genuinely. Like, I don't know, like, why people take it like so. Like, actually, I know why people talk about it like it's easy, because most people don't even know. Most people don't even know that, for example, miscarriages are way more like often happening than we talk about them, because you don't know, right? Like, a lot of the miscarriage actually happened so early on that you were never able to see. So it's like, you don't know for most people. And it's like, honestly scary also, the healthcare around miscarriage. So like, friends of us actually told us that they had multiple miscarriages, and she was given like because so the baby died. The baby was still still inside her. So they had to get an abortion, and she was given this like it's like a pill which is basically meant to like release the placenta, like part the placenta from your uterus. And you bleed because of that, of course, right? Like, it's making basically like a huge wound in your body. But it's like, that's just what happens. Anyways. Well, she nearly died because of that. And not only, like, the second time they had, like, because they tried again, they had again, sadly, a miscarriage. They needed to get an abortion again. And she was given that pill again. Like, luckily she didn't take it, because she was like, are you crazy? Like, I nearly died because of that. But like, the doctor was just like reading through her whole thing and didn't be like, yeah. And she nearly died because of it, and whatever, let's just give her the thing again. Anyways, maybe it's different. So that's absolutely insane. Because like, what the fuck, bro? Like, how can you be so neglectful of your patient in that moment? I don't understand. Then the other thing is, there's like all these influencers right now, right, who like actually show what being pregnant is like, or can be like. And there's people losing their hair to like here, like completely fall out after pregnancy. And that's like normal. Like, what? No, I don't. No, thank you. And then there's people who get like, who literally like, after being pregnant and not wanting kids anymore, they let doctors take out their uterus, because it's apparently, it stays, like, for some people at least, it stays bigger after pregnancy. And that gives you like medical complaints. But like, nobody talks about it. So it's like, I don't know, like, pregnancy doesn't seem fun. Let's put it in one picture. Pregnancy doesn't seem fun. So I don't really like, I also don't see a need to have like my own DNA in a child. Like, I can basically like, I love like so many people. I absolutely could love a stranger like my child. No questions asked whatsoever. I can. It's like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, we have so many children who don't have parents, who live in orphanages and stuff like this. So I feel like, why should I? Like, I know that for whatever reason, it's like harder to actually adopt a child than just getting one. And that's honestly why a lot of people try to get children themselves instead of adopting one, because they couldn't adopt some, which is in itself like ethically really interesting. But yeah, I think I would just like rather adopt a child and give a child which has been neglected like a second chance, instead of just like getting my own child, because like, yeah, we already have enough children. Doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have my DNA. Like, I don't know. Like, my DNA is not great. Like, I have chronic headache right now. Like, I don't know. So yeah. I mean, to be fair, would be I would have like chances of getting like an autistic child, which probably would make it easier to actually like handle that child because I'm autistic, right? So that child thinks like me, like not like properly, but like sort of like it's neurodivergent. But like on the other hand, like most kids are neurodivergent, or like could be neurodivergent because kids are always sort of a little bit crazy. So I think I'm gonna be fine with any kid. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think like the adoption process maybe should be like better, but I don't really necessarily think it should be easier. At the same time, I don't like how I talked about wanting a dog, right? Do you know how many comments and questions I got about if I actually want a dog, if I feel ready for a dog, if I not rather want a cat, if I like, am I sure, like, what am I gonna do with the dog on the holidays, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Do you know how little questions you get if you say like, oh, I'm pregnant? Everybody's just like, congratulations. Oh, how cute. Nobody is like, what do you like? Like, do you have the money for it? Like, do you have a plan for the future? Did you even go to therapy? Did you read any books so far about how to raise a child? My mom actually gifted me a book, How to Raise a Dog. Have you seen anybody gift someone a book on how to raise a child if they say they're pregnant? Like, I don't want to, but like, yeah. So, that's sort of the thing where I feel like, but yeah. I feel like that because of social media, there's more education and enlightenment about the complicated sides of pregnancy, but definitely not enough. My best friend gave birth like 10 months ago, and I heard stuff I've never known. That's crazy, yeah. Did you hear the thing about, like, I only recently heard this. Apparently the placenta, like, I don't know if this is true, but I heard it from, like doctor influencers, so, like, possibly. But, like, apparently the placenta is actually most influenced by the health of the man, like, of the sperm. And the health of the sperm is most influenced by the health of the man, right? So all these dads like still drinking, still smoking, being unhealthy AF. Ooh. No. Like apparently it sort of like determines how much side effects you're gonna get from pregnancy as well. And yeah, so I don't know if that is true. That's still like, even if it's true, it's gonna be like an individual thing for sure. But like that's cuckoo beans to me. Like that's honestly crazy. No, like thank you for the follow. I'm glad you enjoyed here. Yeah. And honestly, I sort of like some of my health problems are oddly same-ish to my dad's. So, and I know my dad wasn't really healthy. Sadly. He was definitely drinking, smoking, being overweight. And like it's I don't know, if you're a person on your own, no big deal. I don't give a fuck. Live your life how you want. But now it's my deal actually. Now it's my issue. I was smoking and drinking and stuff like this. So I'm like, sir, like, please. What the fuck? Yeah. Well, it's never like you never know for sure, right? So like even if you would know your dad, like knowing for sure is still like a complicated issue, I guess. And I mean, maybe you would have known your dad, and it is like with me, right? That you just have to break up contact, and then yikes. So yeah, just sort of like consolation from me as a dad haver having a dad is not like I wouldn't mind not having a dad, maybe. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I still have a dad. Like, maybe he's dead, I don't know. Actually, like, his parents, like my grandma and my granddad, I also don't have contact to them. Funnily enough, they broke contact up to me because I broke contact off with my dad. So I don't even want to know what he told them, but he definitely told them something. And apparently their loyalty is with their fucked up son and not with me. Where I think like, wow, thank you. It's not like I was a child or something. Like, come on, guys. But yeah, I think they are around age of death, you know? But yeah. I really wonder if I will know. Like, will I find out? But like, how would I find out? Like, I always feel like, well, I guess I'm gonna find out like somehow, right? But like, how? I don't think I will. I don't think I will. Exactly. They would act like, would they try to contact me even if I'm living outside of the country? Like, is that a thing? But I don't know if they would give me anything. I don't think they would. They're petty as hell. So they would contact me. Okay, that's good to know. Maybe I'll get a house someday. Who knows? But I don't think I will. I don't know. Nah, I don't think anybody's gonna contact me about anything. I think they're petty enough. Even though I would take very good care of that house, actually. Your whole PC just crashed. Hard crashed. Oof. Damn. What are you working on again? But yeah, honestly, it's like, to me, it's really, it was like a hard gained knowledge to get to the conclusion, or like to really get to the conclusion. And I still sometimes struggle with that conclusion, actually, that like my dad and having a dad are different things. Having a dad is the idea of having a good dad, having a good parent, having that dad from movies. Having my dad is not that. And it honestly, it's like I was angry because of that a lot of times. Because I felt like that's so unfair. Like, why does my dad not love me? Why does my dad not treat me like the dad in movies? Like, how is it fair that I get a parent which neglects me like this? And because everybody treats it like it's not like a good person trait, but it's just like a natural thing. Like, everybody treats it like biologically, your dad will treat you like this nice dad from movies. And if he doesn't, then it's sort of like he doesn't love you, or like then sort of it's something wrong with you as a child. Or at least that's like how your logic as a child works, like, right? Because you try to look for the conclusion and you're like stupid. So you think like, oh, it must be because of me, right? Like, that kid is like a good kid and he has a good dad. So if I'm a good kid, I will have a good dad. And then it sort of just doesn't work that way. And it's like, it's really sucky, but it's like really important to see that your dad is your dad, and he's never going to be that person from the movies. He's maybe going to be his version of a good dad, but he might also be his entire life a shitty dad. And if you break contact off with him, you don't break contact with the idea of having a good dad, but you realize that the idea of having a good dad is different to having your dad. And I don't know, that's just really it's a tough thing, I think. And yeah, I still grieve at not having a good dad. I would have really liked to have a good dad. Wait, a child gets something for sure? No way. Yeah, also for grandparents though. Nah, right? I feel that so much. I know who he is, but he never wanted to meet me. So for a long time, I felt like I'm the problem. Yeah. It's like, I feel like we should teach way more about how much effort and work and money and also how much issues having a child can cost. Like, for one, the pregnancy and then raising the kid, actually, in our society. I think we should be actually straight about the efforts it takes. And that would be negative. It would sound absolutely negative. But I don't think it would be negative, because as like a young couple, if you actually want a child, you're gonna look at all of these things and you're gonna be like, but I will do it. But I will do it. Because that's how I decide if I want a dog or not. Like, I have specifically this about a dog. Like, so many people told me, like, oh, but like, you need to go out 3 times a day. Oh, but you need to do this. You need to blah, 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 blah. But with all of these things, except picking up the poop, like, that's a thing like Zach is gonna do, and I'm gonna go to the no poop having to take away forests. But I'm gonna get used to that too. But like, apart from this, like, everything on there, I'm like, yeah, and I will do it. I don't mind, actually. Going outside every day, yes. It's good for me, I will do it. Playing with the dog, if I maybe don't want to play in that moment, but like the dog comes up to me with a toy, I think I will do it. Like, maybe not always, because like, I'm still the man of the house. But like, I will appreciate my dog stopping me from being at the PC for like 6 hours straight. Like, I'm gonna appreciate my dog making going outside fun because he's excited, and I'm gonna look at him being excited, and I'm gonna be excited myself. I'm gonna appreciate my dog pulling me into the present instead of thinking about what I have to do and what I should be doing and all of these things. Like, all of the things you need to do for a dog, like giving that guidance, being there, understanding that animal, trying to like work together with it, I think it's gonna offer me so much wisdom. And I think I'm gonna love a dog. Like, there's like all these negative things people say to me, and I still know that I want a dog for sure. I don't take it easy. I know how much work it is. But with a child, we expect that if we say the truth to people, people wouldn't get children anymore. We're scared that people wouldn't get children if they knew what a child actually means. And that we then decide and come to the conclusion, okay, then we not tell people the actual truth about the effort of children is so fucked up. Because what you mean in that moment is that you don't tell somebody how much effort a child, a human, is gonna be, then they, to get them to go up, like do that procedure, get that child, to then be disappointed, and later, when they can't go back, find out that it might have been too much work, that they, if they would have known that, they didn't, like, they wouldn't have done it. Then they know when they got the child. That's our approach to this. Do we not see how fucked up and unfair that is for the child? Like, I would have loved my dad to know what it means to have a child. And if that would have meant that I don't exist, I don't, yeah, okay, what now? What then? Like, yes. But I also don't believe that this, like, I didn't, like, either I existed before as a soul, and then I would have just been the child of a family which actually wanted me. Or I didn't exist before as a soul, and then I don't really need to bother anyway with that thought, because I wouldn't have existed. Like, who fucking cares, you know? like this whole perception of like, oh, but your struggles make you stronger and stuff like this is so fucked up, bro. Like we're really like we just dig our own graves like per usual. And I genuinely I don't know why we do it because it's like just so unnecessary. But yeah. With a dog, you have to go out 3 times a day. With a kid, you have to be there physically and emotionally every second of the day. But no one questions the decision of getting a child. Yeah. 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 Exactly this. It's just. It's just, yeah, like the right people would still get children, and the wrong people would not, and would actually be happy themselves. And we don't even know if they would never get children. Like maybe they would just get children like 2 years later, right? Like with today's medicine and everything, we can get children like way later on still. So, and like honestly, like we already have too many humans on this planet, right? Like why are we so obsessed with children anyways? Like I don't know, I don't really understand why we go through that trouble, like why we believe that this honesty and that matter makes any sense. And it's honestly sort of just sad because you can't even be mad at your parents for not knowing. You can't even be mad at your parents. Like you, of course, you can be mad and you should be mad, and it's a very important stage of grief, right? But like now that I've read this book, like I'm just like I can't even be mad at them for neglecting me because nobody fucking told them that it's like that important, that this would influence me that much. And like honestly, there's also it's not like a direct consequence, right? Like there's so many people who go through trauma and traumatic experiences and don't get PTSD, who are fine afterwards. And the funny thing is that actually what we learn is that it doesn't really matter what you live through, but it matters how you deal with it. Like if you can deal with it, if you have like a social circle, if you can speak about your feelings, if you suppress them or repress them, or if you like think about them and journal and like really like live them, you know? And so like honestly, it wouldn't even be like every child is gonna have some type of like neglect in their childhood, I think. Like no parent can give everything to their child. But if we would care to actually understand how important childhood is and how we influence our children, I think we would go about parenting way differently. I think we would go about parenting with the sense of you can always talk to me about everything. And you have some therapist appointments along your life, your entire life. And if you ever decide that you want more, then like it's maybe it's just like 2 every year or something, you know? And then if you decide you want more at your therapist's appointment, then you get more. And that you have friends and that we don't share to our child our expectations of how life should look and how you should live life, but that we would share the knowledge of the wisdom of why we chose to live life that way, of why we believe that this is the best way. And then we let the child choose on their own. And then we let the child discuss to us why they maybe choose differently. And then we could learn from our children because actually, I think in our society right now, we could learn so much from our children. We could learn so much because our children are way more connected to their body and to nature than us. We're in tech, we're like available the entire time, we're like borderline like passing out from the stress the entire time. We have so many people complaining about depression, chronic stress, chronic just pain. We have so many issues. And if we would just listen to children a little bit more, I think we could gain so much wisdom from that actually. And because they could bring us to our roots. And I think that's also honestly what we kind of love about children, that they actually do remind us how it was to be a child, that they do remind us of the inner child within us, they do remind us of the needs we as a child had. But instead of projecting that onto them and abusing them to sort of like to heal our inner child, we could instead just be aware of that and care for ourselves while caring for them. But yeah. I feel like it would be so useful. I personally always knew I wanted kids, and I still do. But when I was a teen and I wanted to be a young mom at 22 or something, and now I'm turning 26 and don't have kids yet, I prioritize my mental health first. So I'm really ready for a kid and take properly care of it, be emotionally available and so on. Yeah. A young mom in 22. That's an idea not many people have. That's a unique idea. Is it okay to ask you why you like had that ideal or like that idea in your head? Because usually, like, to me, it was very shameful to be a young mom. Like, I always learned, like, basically, like, who cares about consent but don't get pregnant? That's what I learned. And so to me, it was like being a young mom was like always very shameful and with very much shame connected. And it was only sort of like later on that I even learned that it can be okay. And that you can like sort of like handle it. But I'm still like, honestly, it was like after that possibility was even still available. So yeah. But I think it's really good to prioritize your own mental health. I think it's really good to, honestly, like with any relationship, I think before having kids, you should always be happy on your own. I think that's also really nice as like a relationship guidance. Like before you marry, you should, or like before you meet other people, you should be at a point where you are a happy person on your own. Like where you don't need anybody to fill a gap or anything. Because that means you're dependent on somebody else being there, right? And I think some people are like maybe like a slightly bit obsessed that their child is gonna fix them. Like that it's like, oh, there's this huge gap and I need like a child to like fix it. And I think it's like really interesting to, as such a person, get to the point where you actually feel happy on your own and then get a child, because then you really know who you are and you know your needs and you can fill them without like you can be a parent without you needing a very specific child. Like your child doesn't need to be anything. Your child has no expectations on their performance or the help they can offer. And I feel like only then maybe, or like maybe only then you're actually able to give your child like this just endless love without any expectations. And I feel like we have that issue with like a lot of relationships as well today, because there's like, I more often hear this from men, but this is not like it's not based on gender, but I think it's more that men more often come in this situation on being of that standpoint, that they don't feel happy alone and that they need a woman to like fix their life, type of like to not feel lonely, for example, to feel cared for, to feel emotionally stable, to feel like they can regulate their emotion, to feel safe. I feel like a lot of men actually are dependent on women in that way. And in that book I'm reading, the theory is that it evolves around the mum, actually, that the mum is living in a sexist world and has this tiny boy at her disposal, kind of. And she can raise that boy in a position of dependency where that boy isn't independent, but remains dependent on her. And that dependency gives her power basically over that child, so she can make sure that she's never abused from that boy, because that boy is dependent on her, and she can always like take that love away from him, and then she knows he's gonna like bend to her will basically and respect her. So that's sort of like the theory in this book. And I think like it might be true in like some cases, definitely. I don't know if in all cases, but I definitely understand how this sort of like hidden agenda is maybe a thing if you like if you are a woman who's like sort of scared of like sexism, and then you raise a boy and that you want to maintain the power in that relationship. But yeah, that's how they then grow up to basically need a mom after moving out of their home, because their mom always kept them dependent. And that's how you basically a lot of times even have this like very comical story of this guy who's like already moved out but like still coming home for his mom to like wash his clothes or like make food and stuff like this, and like is being like still taken care of by that mom of his, instead of like, even though he already like moved out, is already dating and all of this stuff. And then like once he finds a woman, he's like switching from his mom to that woman to take care of him. And if there's like a gap and his mom breaks like is gone maybe, or can't take care of him anymore, or there's not enough care, then well, he's just left there with being dependent, never having learned how to take care of himself in these very specific ways. And that's like really, and then anger is one of the most accepted emotions as a man, right? And like resentment and revenge and these kind of things. Yeah, and then aggression takes over. So it's like, this is not like an excuse, of course, but I think we do need to realize which patterns we form in our society. And this was like a very interesting pattern I read in the book, because at the beginning I was never really a fan of this idea of like, oh yeah, okay, so now it's women's fault again. Like, oh, come on. And well, I don't think it's like the mom's fault in, well, it's like a complicated issue, right? Because parents do have special responsibility over their children, I think. Because you are in this special position where your child actually is dependent on you at the beginning. And you, as the parent, even though this feels nice having something or someone be dependent on you, need at some point raise your child to be independent. And I feel like it's very easy to want to remain in these like first few years of your child and not want your child to actually get independent and not need you anymore. Welcome back, Naradim, by the way. Sorry, I never said it before. And it has actually been proven that middle-aged men are unhappier than women when they are single. It not only has been proven that middle-aged men are unhappier when they are single, it has been proven that women are happier if they are single, because they have to take care of men in relationships, and that the people who are happier in the relationships, on average, are definitely more men than women. Which also underlines the point that men actually are dependent on women. Even though sexism and this whole hate concept is there, they are dependent on women. And it's like a really, really weird concept, honestly, I think. Because we could learn from each other, right? Like there could be like, you could notice, oh, I'm dependent of that person. Like let me ask them as a teacher of how they do that, because I'm dependent of them to do this for me. So they know, I don't know. I could learn from them how to do it. But sexism is really keeping us from that perspective, I think. And also this whole thing about gender, like what is manly and what is like, yeah, feminine. It's like, it's keeping us from this, from learning from each other. And I feel like especially men would profit from learning from women how to, for example, regulate their emotions, or how to, for example, just find friendships and be vulnerable in friendships, how to make boundaries as well. I think men, because they have been, if you are dependent, quasi on your mom or something, I think you have an issue with boundaries for sure. And that would be like a very, I don't know, like, even though also women have a really bad concept of boundaries, I think everybody in our society actually under capitalism has a very bad concept of boundaries, because capitalism directly profits of people not having boundaries and working their asses off till they die. It's like we would really profit to learn from each other how to have proper boundaries, and just to learn from each other, not based on gender, but just based on knowledge. And I think sexism and this obsession over what male persons can do good and what female persons can do good is not really helping in just taking on knowledge and gaining more wisdom. I listened to a podcast about sexism raising kids with chores, but also with little things like comments. You look so beautiful in this dress to a girl, or look at you, you are so strong, fast to a boy. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm sort of thankful that this was never an issue in my, but it was a different issue. It was a different issue in my childhood. What I actually learned is that I don't want to be mean, but as a child, basically, I learned that men are stupid. Like, men are incompetent and stupid. Like, you can't let them do. Like, I learned from my dad and my mom in the household that my mom is able to do everything and does everything and manage everything, and my dad is overwhelmed and can't do anything. Like, he can't do put things in the dishwasher. He can't, like, put his clothes away. He can't make food properly. He can't manage anything anyway. Like, he can't go grocery shopping, not even with a list. So that's sort of the image I got, which was like, it's a very different interpretation of sexism, right? Because they definitely had these gender roles, but I interpreted, because of these gender roles, I didn't interpret my dad to be like really strong and like the man of the household and stuff like this. But and my mom had the responsibility in the household because he wasn't able to do anything, right? So like, that's how I sort of just learned, okay, like, incompetent and stupid, can't do anything alone, definitely dependent and not independent. And my mom, who's strong, can do anything, is never overwhelmed, is able to handle anything at any time, all the time. If you ever need help, you always call my mom. Why would you call my dad? That doesn't make any sense. So this is sort of how I interpreted these gender roles, which were also available in my family as a kid. And it's also not a good image. It's like, in this case, it's not a good image for men, but it's like, it's the same gender role. So to me, it's like, honestly, it's really funny how differently you can see this very same gender roles, basically. But yeah. So, and it wasn't really good for my relationship afterwards either, because when Zach and me moved together, I instantly took over this role. So I was the manager, I was managing everything, I was determining what we buy, when we buy it, how we, like, I don't know, where we go, that we have friends, that we do something with the friends. I would buy presents for the birthdays and stuff like this. Like, all of this work, basically, my mom has been doing, I would do. And that way, Zach would always sort of remain a guest in this house, and which perfectly fit, because his mom also didn't teach him that he would need to do any household chores. So he just sort of like remained a guest at our apartment, and was like, he didn't know where things were, he didn't know what we really needed or anything. Like, he wasn't aware of which things were like running out and stuff like this. And then like only with this apartment, actually, we came to the conversation at some point, with also couples therapy, that this can't go on like this. Like, he can't just be a guest in this like apartment. which then came with lots of adjusting actually, because I didn't know that I had a roommate till then, because I had a guest, but guests can want much and get nothing. So it was like really like, now you actually need to make compromise.
ねえレイ、最近すごくルンルンしてるけど恋人でもできたの？相手って男？女？
それは俺が30歳の誕生日を迎える約3ヶ月前の出来事。何言ってるんですか泉さん、恋人なんていません。ルンルンしてません。
してたって。
あの場はとっさにそう答えてしまったが、すみません泉さん、恋人はいます。しかも先日10年以上の時をかけてようやく両思いになりました。そして実は聖夜さんと渚さんの公認だったりします。でもあなたにだけはまだ話せない。なぜならその相手は
レイ、待ちきれないから迎えに来たよ。
あなたの兄翔吾だからだ。正直油断していた。まさか泉に悟られるほど顔に出ていたとは。ね、翔吾、家で待ってろと言っただろ。芸能人がこんな時間に一人で出歩くんじゃない。
だって1秒でも早くレイに会いたかったから。くすん。
ドキュン。
レイ、怒ってる？キューン。
いや、以後気をつけろ。くそかわいい。恐ろしい。翔吾のことがこんな愛しく思える日が来るなんて。これが恋人か、これが両思いか。ダメだ、しっかりしろ俺。
ねえレイ、それよりさ、ただいまのキスしてもいい？
何言ってる。ここは事務所なんだぞ。
いいじゃん、誰もいないんだし。ダメ？キュー
ン。キスだけだからな。爆発しろ俺。
レイ、ただいま。
おかえり。泉さん、待ってください。泉さん。
泉？
開けてください泉さん、話を。
泉、どうしたの？
お兄ちゃんとレイって付き合ってるの？
それは。
うん、そうだよ。ごめん、泉には言ってなかったっけ？父さんと母さんは知ってるよ。
お前。
で、この前恋人なんていないって言ったよね。嘘ついたんだ。
それは。
レイはいつもそうだよね。俺は何でもレイに話してるのに、レイは自分のことを何にも話してくれない。昔のこととか聞いても何にも答えてくれない。レイにとって俺って何なの？家族だと思ってるのは俺だけなの？レイなんてもう絶好！二度と口なんて聞かないんだからね！
泉さん。すみませんでした泉さん。私もあなたのことは大事な家族だと思っています。でも心のどこかであなたをまだ子供だと思っていた。本当にすみませんでした。これからは何でも話します。さあ、何でも聞いてください。
今？じゃあお兄ちゃんとはいつから付き合ってるの？
体の関係は10年以上前から。身も心も結ばれて両思いになったのはつい最近のことです。
レイって男が好きな人なの？い
え、正確には倍です。比率的には男7対女3。具体的な数字は多すぎて覚えてません。
レイってやたら強いけど、なんか格闘技とかやってたの？
いえ、独学です。喧嘩ばかりの日々を送っていたら自然と身につきました。
レイってうちに来る前は一体どういう人だったの？
考 簡単に言うとグレてました。殺人以外の悪事はほぼ経験済みです。やっぱりこの辺でやめときますか。
なんでグレたの？
私は愛人の子で、母は一人で私を産んで育てました。父が誰なのかは知りません。母は私を養うため、一日中働いていて、私はいつも一人でした。一人は寂しくて、生活も苦しくて、気づいたらほとんど家に帰らず、不良グループと共に行動するようになったんです。泣かないでください、泉さん。大丈夫ですよ。瀬名家の皆さんのおかげで私は救われたんですから。
じゃあレイはどうやってうちに来たの？お母さんはどうしてるの？瀬名家に救われたってどういうこと？
わかりました。少し長くなりますが、聞いてもらえますか？すべては11年前のあの日、18のクリスマスイブの夜に始まったんです。11年前のクリスマスイブ、街はキラキラと輝いていて、みんな楽しそうに笑っている。その時、俺は。
ねえママ、あそこで人が寝てるよ。
ダメよ、あっち行きましょう。
でも
その時、俺は絶望の淵にいた。母さんが死んだ。事故で。俺が駆けつけた時にはもう息をしていなかった。最悪の母親だったけど、俺のただ一人の肉親だった。俺はとうとうこの世界で一人きりになってしまった。それでやけになって喧嘩売りまくるとか、アホか。このままここで寝てたら投資するかな。それもありだな。どうせ俺にはもう何もない。
ねえ、生きてる？じーっ
なんだお前。
あ、生きてた。よかった。死んでるのかと思ったよ。
なんだこの外国人。外国人？あれ、でもこいつどっかで見たこと。
あ、怪我してるじゃないか。病院行こ
う。このくらい平気だから構うな。
でももし可能したら。
いいんだよ、どうなったって。どうせ金もないし親もいないし、俺はここで死にたいんだよ。だからほっといてくれ。
わかった。じゃあお金ここに置いていくから病院行きなさいね。
はあ？全然わかってねえ。
それとそれのポケットにチケット入ってるからよかったら見に来てね。バイバーイ。
高そうなコート。これどうすれば。財布丸ごと。バカなんじゃねえの？こんなの置いていかれても。ってもういない。1、2、3。うわ、すげえ札束。おい、カードも入ってるぞ。冗談だろ。あの外国人はサンタクロースか。よーし、どうせ死ぬなら最後に合流するか。しかし何も食いたくねえし、別に欲しいものもない。だいたい死ぬ前に何か買ってもな。死にたい人間に金って意味ねえんだな。
ママ、ねえねえ見て、すごい飾り付け。
おお、本当だ。すごいな。それに俺が本当に欲しいのは、やっぱりあの路地裏であのまま寝てればよかった。寒い。 ああ、そういえば見に来てとか言ってたな。主演瀬名誠也。ああ、どっかで見たことあると思ったら。ミュージカルベネトナッシュカペラ劇場、すぐそこだな。12月24日18時開演。あってこれ今日今って何時？あと10分じゃねえか！あいつ本当にアホだろ！間に合ったって俺なんでここ来てんの？ギリギリすぎて思わず走ってしまった。出るか。あ、やべ、始まる。仕方ねえな、終わるまでね。そこにあったのは光、音、声。なんだこれ。なんで俺泣いてんだ。なんなんだこれ。歌が心に入り込んでくる。ブラボー！それは生まれて初めての衝動だった。素晴らしいな。迫力すごすぎて揺れちゃったよ。
お客様、すみません、閉館のお時間です。
瀬名誠也さんに会わせてください。お返ししなきゃいけないものがあるんです。
瀬名に確認します。少々お待ちください。
いやあ、見に来てくれたんだね。あれ、病院には行ったのかい？
これありがとうございました。
ん？それは君にあげたものだよ。
もらえません。こんなにたくさんお返しします。
でも君お金ないんだろ？お金ないと病院行けないし。
でも無償でここまでしていただくわけには。
無償。お、じゃあこうしよう。そのお金の分私の付き人をやっておくれよ。
はぁ？何言ってんの？あんたやっぱり。
いいマリ、ちょうど付き人探してたんだよね。佐藤さん、彼を付き人として雇うから手続きよろしく。
了解しました。
どうしてこうなった？そして恐ろしい速さで手続きは進み、数日後。俺なんでここにいるんだ。でかい家。
ようこそレイ君、よく来たね。さあ入って。今日からここが君の家だよ。
まさか今度は人間拾ってくるなんて思わなかったわ。
まあまあ渚。レイ君、妻の渚だ。
はい。この人が大女優の瀬名渚。すげえ美人。でも怖そう。相良レイです。どうぞよろしく。
よし、イケメン。いいわね、いいわね。毎日が潤うわね。
だろう、きっと君も喜ぶと思っていたよ。
さすがね、あなた。この子だったらタレントでもいけるんじゃない？
お、いいね。レイ君どう？
いや、それはちょっと。
ああ、残念。
残念だね。
芸能人ってこんなんばっか？子供？
ああ、泉。こっちにおいで。今日からここに住むことになった相良レイ君だよ。レイ君、息子の泉だ。
かわいい。息子？娘じゃなくて？
泉は今8歳なんだ。小学3年生。 今上の子が留学中で寂しがってるから仲良くしてやってほしい。
はい、わかりました。よろしくお願いします、泉さん。すごく内気な子だな。
レイ君、君の部屋に案内するよ。
はい。
君の部屋は3階なんだ。2階は僕と渚の部屋と子供たちの部屋がある。どこでも自由に出入りしていいからね。
はあ。せいやさん？なんで俺をそんなに信用してるんですか？俺が悪人だったらどうするんですか？実際結構なワルだし。
大丈夫。君が悪人じゃないのは分かってるから。
だからなんで？
だって、舞台から見えた君の涙はすごく綺麗だったから。あんな綺麗な涙は心の綺麗な人にしか流せない。
いやでも、そんなことで。
結構舞台から客席って見えるんだよ。そしてやっぱり、君は僕に会いに来てくれた。僕の直感は正しかったってことさ。君はいい子だよ。僕は人を見る目だけは自信があるんだ。
この時、俺は一生この人のために生きてゆこうと、心に誓った。そして、瀬名家での生活が始まった。
じゃあ行ってくるね。今日は夜遅くなると思うから。
泉はお願いね。
はい、いってらっしゃい。とは言っても、付き人見習いの俺にできることはあまりない。家事は通いの家政婦さんがやってくれるし、セナプロにはちゃんと社員がいるし、俺ができるのは、たまの電話番と仕事場見学と免許を取りに自動車学校に行くくらい。なので俺の仕事のほとんどは、子守だった。とは言っても、全く懐いてくれない。一体どうしたらいいんだろう。いっつも一人で何か書いてるし、しかも何書いてるかわかんねえし。しかしここは大人になって昨日読んだ育児書の通りに、子育て極意その1、子供は褒めて伸ばせ。お上手ですね。特に色がいいと思います。営業スマイル。
他のも見せてあげるね。これがクレーン車。これがお兄ちゃんで。
あったかい。
これがお父さん。
それ、せいやさん？そして。
よーし、今日はパーッと外食しましょう。今日はいい肉がっつりな気分。
いってらっしゃい。お気をつけて。
何言ってんの？バカなの？もちろんあんたも行くのよ。あんたはもううちの子なんだから。早く。
待ってるから早く上着持っておいで。
瀬名家での穏やかな日々が過ぎてゆき。
はい、これ通信制の大学パンフレット。レイ君勉強熱心だから、これだったら働きながらでも学べるでしょ。もう入学手続きしといたよ。
でも学費は。
もちろん体で返してもらうよ。
ありがとうございます。温かいこの家族は、せいやさんは俺がずっと欲しかったものを何でもくれる。俺の乾いた心はたくさんのポカポカで満たされていった。毎日が夢みたいに幸せだった。
今日は社内コンサートにようこそ。それではレイ君のためだけに歌います。
こんな日がいつまでも続けばいいと思ってた。瀬名家での幸せな生活に変化が訪れたのは、俺がここに来て半年近く経ったある日のこと。あれ、俺、そうだ。昨日泉さんが。
お化け怖いから
だから怖いテレビは見るなと。2時。いかん。うっかり眠り込んでしまった。自分の部屋に戻って寝直そう。眠い。せいやさんたちまだ起きてる？もしかしてまた喧嘩か？
せいやくん。
いや、当たり前だろ。夫婦なんだから。そういうことしてたって別におかしくない。そういうこと。考えるな、俺。で、ほとんど眠れなかった。おはようございます。
おはよう、レイ君。
せいやさん、早いですね。顔が見れね
え。レイ君、顔赤いよ。熱でもあるのかな？
うわ
あ、ちょっと暑いかも。
あ、吐息が。すみません。具合が悪いので部屋に戻ります。
おや？
失礼します。
何かあったら呼びなさいね。レイ君。
そうか、俺せいやさんが好きなんだ。こういう意味で。でもせいやさんには渚さんがいるし、俺は男だし、こんな感情に気づかれたら一緒に暮らせなくなる。嫌だ。俺は一生せいやさんのそばにいたい。それなら。
おや？レイ君、もう大丈夫なのかい？
はい、少し休んだらすっかり。
レイ、お外にお絵かきに行く約束。
すみません、お待たせしました。どこに行きましょうか？絶対に言わない。この感情は一生隠し通すんだ。そうして表面上は穏やかに時は過ぎ、それから2ヶ月経った8月の夏休み。では、いってらっしゃい。お気をつけて。
なんでレイは行かないの？そうよ、一緒に来ればいいのに。
すみません。さすがにお墓参りにご一緒するのは敷居が高くて。
ねえ、大丈夫よ、うちの実家なら。
こらこら。レイ君にもたまには休みが必要だよ。ね。
ありがとうございます。
じゃあ行ってきます。
お土産買ってくるわね。レイ。
1週間、ご家族は渚さんの実家に帰省する。俺は留守番を買って出て、一人で瀬名家に残ることにした。なぜかというと、久しぶり。たまにはガス抜きも必要だ。酒、ビール買ってこよう。久しぶりにエロ DVD でも借りてくるか。ヤッホー。しかし飽きた。タバコ別にうまくねえし、酒一人で飲んでもつまんねえし、昔のダチは悪いのしかいねえし、せいやさん以外でエロい気分になんねえし、そうだ、掃除しよう。帰ってきた時綺麗だと嬉しいよな。 げえいい天気だな。そうか、布団干し日和だ。失礼しまーす。あ、そういえば
せい
あの夜からここ入ってなかったかな。いかん、思い出すな。あ、せいやさんの匂い。今この家には誰もいない。目の前にはせいやさんのベッドとなればやることは一つ。これだろう。せいやさんの匂い。たった誰だ。
ってあんたこそ誰？
ミニせいやさんってくらいそっくりな顔。これどう見ても留学中の長男。終わった。がっくり。
あ、わかった。あんたあれでしょ。確か新しく父さんの付き人になった美人さん。名前は？
相良レイです。
そう、レイ君。俺は長男の翔吾。よろしく。
あ、はい。よろしくお願いします。
ところでみんなは？
渚さんのご実家に。
ああ、なるほど。それで一人になったレイは父さんのベッドで一人エッチをしてたんだね。
はあ、まあ、切腹しよう。
いやー、面白いことしてるよね。手伝ってあげよっか？
は？
いや、噂以上の美人だよね。
おい！
超綺麗。俺男とやるの初めてだけど、レイならいける。
ちょっと待て！
レイ、これ死ぬやつ。
なんで俺がお前みたいなクソガキとやらなきゃいけないんだ！
だってレイ父さんのこと好きなんでしょ？でも言えないよね。禁断の恋だもんね。もちろん俺も誰にも言わないよ。二人だけの秘密だよね。
これは絶対ノーって言えないやつ。がっくり。わかった。
やったー！ウィン！レイ！
待て！その代わりちゃんと俺の言うことを聞け。男初めてっつったよな。がっつくんじゃねえ。まずは俺の言うものを用意しろ。
わかったから。痛い、顔痛い。用意しました。レイって結構悪だよね。
それがどうした？よし、いいか。とにかく俺がいいって言うまで鳴らせよ。それまでは絶対突っ込むな。あと絶対ゴム使えよ。
オッケー。じゃあそういうことで。
がっつくなって言ったろ。まだ場所を変え。
これ以上はダメ。ここからは俺のターン。
その目の色は。
レイ君。
今の
似てるでしょ、俺の声。父さんに俺を父さんだと思えばいい。父さんに抱かれてると思って。
せいやさんに。レイ君、ベッドに染みついた匂いと正吾の声に俺はあの人を重ねて溺れた。というわけで正吾との関係が始まったんです。ここまでで何かご質問は？
出会って5分でエッチ？ ちょっと待って、突っ込みどころが多すぎて突っ込みが追いつかない。出会って5分エッチって何？そんな出会いってありえるの？やりちんとビッチが出会えばそうなるの？俺が福岡のおばあちゃん家でスイカ食べたり虫取ったりしてた時にこの家ではそんないかがわしいことが起こってたの？それ以前に霊を拾ってきた父さんもちょっとおかしくない？普通カードも入ってる財布丸ごと知らない人に渡す？しかも家に連れてくる？そして霊が父さんのことを好きで父さんのベッドで一人エッチしてたとか別に知りたくなかった。
泉さん、何もないようでしたら。
ある。霊はお兄ちゃんとエッチしてヤバいと思わなかったの？もしバレたら。
実は目が覚めた時後悔しました。瀬名家のご子息に手を出してしまってはもう瀬名プロにいられない、そう思って落ち込んだものです。やっちゃった。
ああ、一応落ち込む常識はあったんだ。よかった。
でもその時翔吾がある提案をしてくれたんです。
提案？
そして時は再び霊18歳の夏へ。
共犯者になろう。このことは2人だけの秘密ね。
脅迫じゃなく俺が一方的に弱み握られた気がするんだが。
大丈夫。このことがバレたらさすがに俺もやばいから。父さん本気で怒るとマジ怖いんだ。
マジか。意外だな。
だからはい、指切り厳満。
よかった、まだ瀬名家にいられる。
じゃあさ、もう一回やろうよ。
なんでそうなる？
1回やれば2回も3回も同じじゃん。痛いね。レイってすごく遊んでたんでしょ？
まあ。
で、うちに来てからずっとご無沙汰だったんでしょ？
まあな。
だから今のうちにやりまくろうよ。お互い気持ちくてウィンウィンね。
確かにあまり溜め込むのも良くないのかもしれない。だからあんな暴走行為をしてしまったのかも。聖夜さんのベッドで。わかった。ただしご家族が戻るまでな。
わーい、やったー。
ちょっと待て。
何？
場所を変えるぞ。
面倒。
嫌ならやらない。
俺の部屋行こっか。
こうして俺と翔吾のこの先10年にわたる共犯関係が始まった。
レイ、起きてる？
今何時だ？
夕方4時。コンビニ行って食料買ってきた。
くれ。しかし食うかやるかしかしてないな。
ほとんど裸だよね。久しぶりに服着た。
動物か。
動物じゃん？
まあそうだな。
レイ、どこ行くの？
シャワー。さすがに気持ち悪い。ベタベタ。
俺も一緒に入る。
言っとくが3階のは狭いぞ。数日後。
レイ、おにゃ。いきなり何？
今日はご家族が帰ってくる日だ。
も
う？ご家族が羽田に着くのは夕方。それまでに証拠隠滅しなければ。これでよし。あとはお迎えに。いや、待った。翔吾、これから聖夜さんたちを迎えに行ってくる。帰ってくるまでにちゃんと起きて服着てろよ。それとちゃんと秘密守れよ。こいつ大丈夫なんだろうな。お帰りなさい、泉さん。
ただいま。
レイ君、ただいま。
ただいま。
お帰りなさい。久々の本物の聖夜さん。やっぱり偽物とは全然違う。
そういえばレイ君、留守中は何も変わりなかった？
そういえば翔吾さんがお帰りに。
お兄ちゃんが？早く帰ろう。翔吾、帰るなんて一言も連絡なかったのに。まったくいい加減な子。早く。
翔吾は自由な子だからね。
なるほど。 つの帰宅は予定外だったわけだ。いい加減、確かに。あいつ本当に秘密守るんだろうな。つか服着たかな。
ただいま。お兄ち
泉元気だったか？スリスリ、いちゃんいちゃん。
ゃん。お兄ちゃんいなくて寂しかった。
泉相変わらずキャワタン。
超ブラコン。
キャワワ。
くすぐったいよお兄ちゃん。
泉がお兄ちゃん子だとは聞いていたが、まさかこれほどとは。
いきなり帰ってくるなんてどうしたの？
いや、夏休み入っていろんな友達のいる国を回ってたんだけど、そろそろ家にも顔出そうかなって。そしたらみんないなかった。
連絡しないからでしょ。だいたいあんたほとんど連絡よこさないで、たまには電話とかメールしなさいよ。
まあまあ、頼りがないのは元気な証拠ってね。
またそんなこと言って、あんたがその身勝手さに振り回されることにもなりません。
ごめんね。いきなり正吾が帰ってきて驚いただろう。
いや、大丈夫です。動揺すんな、俺。
留守番お疲れ様。部屋もピカピカだ。ありがとうね。
せいやさん、気づいてくれたんだ。いえ、大したことは。
他に何か変わったことはなかったかい？
いえ、特には。そしてそれから数日の間、穏やかな家族団らんが続いた。正吾は友達に会いに出かけたり、夜は泉の相手をして一緒に眠ったりしているようだった。
行ってきます。
疑って悪かったな。とにかく正吾はずっと自然体で、秘密の心配など全く必要なかった。そしてそれは正吾が留学先に戻る前日の夜。
それで正吾は将来の方向は決めたのかい？
まだ決まってない。とりあえず飛び級できそうだし、あっちで大学までは出ようかなと。
そうか。やっぱり芸能界に入るつもりはないのかい？
それだけは絶対にない。
それは残念だ。早く夢が見つかるといいね。
まったく困った子ね。
ん？せいやさん？
レイ君、どうしたのこんな時間に。
戸締まりの確認に。お酒ですか？珍しいですね。
たまには飲みたくなる夜もあるんだよ。レイ君、一緒に飲まない？
一応まだ18歳で。
そっか。じゃあちょっと話し相手になってよ。座って。
隣！
座って。
はい！失礼します。せいやさん、少し酔ってる。
正吾はね、何でもできる子なんだよ。勉強もスポーツもちょっと頑張ればすぐ人並み以上にできるようになってしまう。だからこそ逆にやりがいのあるものが見つからないみたいなんだ。あの子は歌も上手くてね、本当は歌手になってくれたらと思うんだ。でも親と同じ道を志すのは嫌みたいでね。
なんだ、あいつ天才だったのか。あんなヘラヘラした喋り方してるからわからなかった。そういえば飛び級とか言ってたな。人の羨む才能をたくさん持ってるのに何も選べないなんて贅沢なやつだな。いや、かわいそうなやつなのか？よくわからねえな。何かせいやさんの力になりたいけど、あいつ明日外国に帰るしな。
最後の夜だから来ちゃった。
出て行けや。
それない。
当然だろ、ご家族がいるんだぞ。
大丈夫大丈夫、みんな寝てるの確認したから。レイが大声出さなければバレない。
出てけ。
いいじゃん。俺ずっと約束守ってたでしょ。ご褒美ちょうだい。
たった今破ってるじゃねえか。
明日俺帰っちゃうんだよ。最後なんだよ。
最後。まあこの家で3階にいるのは俺だけだし、それに分かった、好きにしろ。
やったー。明日帰りたくないな。ずっとレイとイチャイチャしていたい。せめてもう一回。
ざけんな、こんな疲れるのはごめん。条件によってはすっごいサービスをしてやってもいい。
何条件って。
歌手になれ。
レイ、さては父さんに頼まれただろ。卑怯。
違う、頼まれてない。聖夜さんに喜んで欲しくて俺が勝手に言った。
どっちにしろ父さんのためじゃん。嫌だね。絶対歌手なんかならないから。サービスいらない。
ダメか。
スカ、父さんに喜んで欲しいとか、レイはなんでそんな父さんのことを好きになったの？
なんでって。優しいし、笑顔が素敵だし、一緒にいるだけですっごい幸せ。知るか！いつの間にか好きになってたんだよ。何言わせんだ、クソや。翌日。
じゃあ行ってきまーす。
着いたら連絡よこしなさいよ。
いってらっしゃい。レイ君も運転気をつけて。
いいじゃん。
なんだろう、あれからやけにおとなしい、不気味。じゃあな。
送ってくれてありがとう。
何事もなく終わる。何なんだよ、忘れ物？
ねえ、父さんに笑ってたみたいに俺にも笑ってよ。
はあ？俺がなんでそんなことしなきゃいけないんだ？
俺さ、人を好きになったことがないんだ。スカ、よくわからない。好きだから一緒にいたいとか、誰か一人の人間に執着したことがない。多分、好きってセックス気持ちいいとか、俺が泉を可愛いと思うのとは違うんだよね。
そうだな。
レイは父さんの前でだけすごく綺麗に笑うんだ。それってやっぱりレイが父さんを好きだからだろ？
いや、俺にはわからないが。マジか、そんなに違うか。やべえ。
ちょっとだけいいなと思った。
ショーゴ、今なんて。
じゃあね。
なんだ、あいついきなりわけわからないこと言い出して、最後なんて言ってたんだ。俺そんな聖夜さん大好きオーラ出してたか。気をつけよう。教えてくれて助かった。ありがとうショー。でもな、お前はしばらく帰ってくんな。マジヒヤヒヤの毎日だった。聞けばあいつは今回帰ってくるまで1年以上音信不通だったらしい。ということは、しばらくは平穏な日々が送れるってことだ。俺は自由だが、
メリークリスマス！
お兄ちゃん！
泉、プレゼント買ってきたよ。
どうしたのあんた。
おや？
なんで、どうして？
サンタさんだよ。
だからどうしてだ！お前1年帰ってこないんじゃなかったのか。あれから4ヶ月しか経ってねえぞ。
だってクリスマス休暇だし、 やっぱお正月は帰った方が家族孝行かなって。
まあ、そうだが。
それにさ、
その晩はめちゃくちゃ燃えまくり、そしてしっかり姫始めもやって正吾は帰っていった。
じゃあね。
お兄ち
だが3月の春休みにも、
ただいま。
ゃんお兄ちゃん
その次の夏休みにも、
ただいま。
お兄ちゃん
正吾は休みのたびに帰ってくるようになった。
泉会うたび大きくなるな。
でかくなってるのはあんたよ。
家族は喜んでいるが、特に泉が。
最近正吾はよく帰ってくるね。
そうですね。
何かあるのかな。
俺はいつバレるかと怖くて仕方がなかった。そしてそんなある日のこと、
あ、泉起きちゃったか。
さっさと服着て泉のとこに行け。
うん。泉。お兄ち
ゃんどこ行くだろ。
ちょっと3階のベランダに。じゃあ一緒に戻ろうか。
ごまかせたか。いや、分かってる。こんなこといつまでも続けてはいられない。ダメだと分かっているのに、翔吾とのセックスは最高に良くて、俺はいつまでもこの関係をやめることができなかった。しかし転機が訪れたのは11月某日。ただいま戻りました。
お帰りなさい、相良さん。注文の品物は全部受け取れました？
はい。
じゃあすみませんけど、リビングまで持って行ってくれますか？
はい。ちっと行儀悪いけど仕方ない。よっ。
おめでとう。
サプライズ成功。
レイ君、今日はレイ君の20歳の誕生日だよ。ちなみにその荷物全部みんなからのプレゼント。
でもこれアルフィーとかロレックスとか高級ブランドばっか。
まあまあ着替えようね。
あの
似合ってる。かっこいいイケメン。
ありがとうございます。でもさすがにこんな高価なものいただくわけには。
なんでそれをプレゼントしたと思う？
誕生日？
実はもう一つ理由があるんだよね。
成人式？就活？
お、いいね。じゃあレイ君には就職してもらおうかな。セナプロにね。
それって。
レイ君、今まで君は見習いとしてたくさん頑張ってくれた。もし君が良ければこれからも力を貸してほしいんだ。正式にセナプロの一員になってくれるかい？
はい、喜んで。
やったー。就職おめでとう。
どうしよう。
これからもよろしくお願いします。
よろしくね。
こちらこそ。
レイ君、
嬉しい。
期待してるよ。
嬉しい。俺はまたこの人に大事な宝物をもらってしまった。頑張ろう。俺はこれからの人生、聖夜さんとセナプロに全てを捧げよう。でもそのためには俺はちゃんとけじめをつけないといけない。
この家を出たい？
はい。成人として、一社会人となった今、いつまでも生活全般お世話になるわけにはいかないと思いまして。ちゃんと独り立ちしたいと。
やだレイがいなくなったら彼が人参食べてくれるの？
絶対許さないんだからね。
ほら、レイにだってプライベートは必要でしょ？お年頃なんだから。だって！
引っ越すと言っても、毎日事務所には通いますし、ここから歩いてすぐのところにしようかと。
そうなの？
なんだ、そういうことな。
築浅、風呂トイレ別、エアコン完備、家具付き、オートロック付き 1LDK、背中まで徒歩3分。風呂なし4万円のアパートを借りるつもりが。
レイ君の部屋はセラプロ社員寮ってことで、家賃は光熱費込み3万円。
結局ほとんどセナプロ持ちになってしまった。安すぎだろ。家を出た本当の理由は、聖夜さんによこしまな思いを抱いているからなんて死んでも言えない。すみません、聖夜さん。でもこれで一つ目のけじめはつけた。残るは1ヶ月後。それでは失礼します。
レイ君遅くまでごめんね。
うわ、もうこんな時間か。今日の撮影は押したな。正吾。
あ、おかえり。
お前、どうしてここが。
いや、家帰ったらレイが引っ越したって聞いて、よっと。泉に場所聞いて、来ちゃったってへ？
来ちゃったじゃねえよ。連絡くらいしろ。
え？だって俺、レイの連絡先知らないもん。
まあいい。俺もお前に話がある。入れ。
お邪魔しまーす。おお、結構いい部屋。
セナプロの社員寮だからな。
あ、そういえばレイ、社員になったんだって？スーツ、超エロいね。レイ、これ急所に、
翔吾。お前との共犯関係を終わりにしたい。
あ。どうして？
お前との快楽より、全てをかけて守りたいものができたから。俺はもう、聖夜さんに嘘をつきたくないし、聖夜さんとセナプロを失うような真似は、二度としたくない。だから。
わかった。しょうがないよね。こういうのはお互いが納得して成立するもんだし。うん、じゃあ、共犯関係終了。
翔吾。
でも、突然の契約解除なんだから、違約金くらいは払ってくれるよね。だから、今日で最後。
翔吾は拍子抜けするほどあっさりと受け入れた。そりゃそうか。こいつは別に俺以外にも相手いるもんな。でも、なんだろう。笑ってるのに、泣きそうな顔してるように見えるのは。目が覚めたら、勝負はもういなくて。
いつの間にか帰っちゃったのよ。ひどくない？お兄ちゃん！
瀬名家からも姿を消していて、正吾は再び音信不通になった。終わった。欠けた何かを埋めるように、俺は無我夢中で仕事に打ち込んだ。少しでも聖夜さんの力になれるように、少しでもセナプロを大きくできるように。だが、ダメだ。今回のオーディションも不作ですね。
渚さん、このドラマ嫌ですって。
新人の人材不足、渚さんの仕事の停滞、そして、
あれ
聖夜さん！
声帯にポリープができてますね。良性ですが大きくなると気道を塞ぐ可能性があるので、切除をお勧めします。しかし、元の通り歌えるかどうかは、
セナプロ最大の危機が訪れる。手術、どうするんですか？
悩んでる。歌手生命に関わるし、翔吾がセラプロに入ってくれればね、安心して手術を受けるんだけど。
確かに、今なら聖夜さんの言うことが嫌というほどわかる。正吾の恐ろしいまでのカリスマ性。普通とは全然違うオーラ。でも、あいつはあれ以来、帰ってこない。こんな時間に誰だ？はい。正吾。
どうしても話したいことがあるんだ。少しだけ入れて。久しぶり。
ああ。お前、どうしてここにいる？学校はどうした？ 5 月だぞ。
ああ、まあ。
話ってなんだ？
ねえ、レイ。他のやつだとダメなんだ。どうしてもレイを思い出して。いつもレイでいっぱいで胸が苦しいんだよ。これってどういうこと？なんで俺レイばっかりなの？
最悪だ。俺に聞くなよ。
やっぱりこれが好きってこと？ねえ、俺レイが好きなの？
ダメだ！俺が好きなのは聖夜さんだ。お前じゃない。お前の気持ちには応えられない。
父さんには母さんがいる。それでも？
ああ、それでも。
永遠に報われない恋でも？
ああ。
俺、一番父さんに似てるよ。俺となら恋愛できるよ。
でもお前は聖夜さんじゃない。聖夜さんみたいに誠実じゃないし、素敵な歌も歌えない。
じゃあ、俺が父さんを超えることができたら？俺が父さんを超えるような男になったら、俺のこと好きになってくれる？
こいつ、何も分かってない。そういう問題じゃな。
翔吾がセラプロに入ってくれればね、安心して手術を受けるんだけど。
聖夜さんを超えるって、歌手になるのか？
ああ、レイがなれって言うならなってみせる。
分かった。もし本当にそうなったら、好きになってやるよ。
マジで？
あ
前言ってたすっごいサービスもしてくれる？
あ。ああ。
じゃあ、指切り厳満。レイ、待ってろよ。俺は絶対ビッグになって帰ってくるから。
翔吾。ごめん。俺は、セラプロのために、翔吾の気持ちを利用した。翌日。翔吾さんが？
昨夜遅く帰ってきてね。
父さん。
翔吾？
俺は父さんを超える歌手になるため旅に出る。絶対にセナの名前には頼らない。俺一人の力で成功してみせるから。
それは迷惑な。
あの翔吾がキラキラ輝いていたよ。結果を出すまで家には帰らないそうだ。大学も中退したいと。渚はぼやいていたが、私は嬉しいよ。翔吾は絶対やってくれる子だ。私は手術を受けることにするよ。
はい。そして時が経ち、武道館を満員にする伝説のインディーズバンドクラッシャーズの噂をレイが耳にするのは、翔吾が姿を消してから約3年後の出来事だった。バックステージのボイスコミックはいかがでしたか？この続きはコミックスをご覧ください。
レイと俺はどうなってしまうのか。バックステージ全3巻は好評発売中&配信中。
うふふなシーンも入ったボイスコミック完全版もぜひチェックしてくださいね。
あれ、なんか俺の声がところどころ違う。
いいから閉めるぞ。せーの。
最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。
Realizes what's that kind of sort of like this direction. And but it's honestly it's like really nice in the end because like now I was gone for like 3.5 weeks and I come back and the apartment still stands like it works. He didn't call me the entire time like, oh, where's the salt, where's the sugar, where's blah blah blah, oh, do we need whatever, or like buy all new things and like all of the things went bad or anything. The apartment was like completely tired, not tired, dirty, and like the pile of like washing went like up till the ceiling. Like, no, he did everything on his own. He can do everything. So I just came back and the apartment looked clean. It looks like when I left. So that's like the positive thing of this. It looked better than when I left.
You didn't wash the bath a long time when you left.
See, now this is what I have to endure. Now I need need to listen to that. I didn't wash the bathroom for a long time. By the way, the bathroom.
I said,
You said we? Okay. Because I was about to say, like, that's your job, actually. Like, bathroom and trash, that's your thing. I do the rest. But I think a lot of these gender roles have been taught to your parents from their parents. I mean, I see it with my parents, it was basically the same. Surely my dad could cook a little and was the more handyman. But everything else my mom did, but with changing generations. At least I hope both genders will continue to grow more independent, if that makes sense. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but all my relationships, I mostly did the cooking, washed my own clothes, and the rest of the chores have been split up because of preferences in handling chores. I, for example, don't like cleaning in the bathroom, but I do the kitchen after cooking, for example. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think people should be more independent, definitely. Like, I think in a relationship, you always get somehow dependent, but like, I only also recently realized that it's also really bad to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, not in terms of like, oh my god, like if you split up, something happens or whatever, but just in like, I wasn't with Zach the last 3.5 weeks and I needed to be okay. And at the beginning I was really anxious, like, okay, like who do I talk to? Like, blah, 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 whatever. And now I realized actually I was able to talk to my mom, I was able to talk to my sisters. Like, it's like fine. But yeah, just don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like things can always happen. Like he can get sick, he can like have to like move for work or something, and then it's like long distance. Like there's like things which can happen. Like it's life. Like putting all your eggs in one basket is low-key stupid. In any case, like it doesn't need to be a relationship or anything. But yeah, so. But it's honestly, it was really cute because like when I left, the like work colleague of Zach actually offered him to like come over, like if he feels like basically like lonely or needs a change of like sceneries, then he like can like come over for like for dinner and stuff like this. Where I think like that's so cute. That's so like that's how men look out for each other. They're like, here buddy, I know you're as incompetent as me because you're a man. Come over to me and my wife to let us cook for you and like be your social contact, because I know that you alone don't have any social abilities or can cook, clean or anything, and will die of loneliness in your apartment if your wife is not there, because obviously your wife is your whole life and you're entirely dependent on her. Which is more like, that's cute. Is it cute? It definitely was cute. Like it was such a it was a nicely meant offer, but it's like so interesting how ingrained this perspective of being dependent on your wife is. Like it's not even like there's no bad tone to it or anything. It's like the most obvious natural thing, and that's sort of like, I don't know, to me that's really funny. More like ridiculous funny, but I also live alone for like 9 years now, and my apartment still stands, and I can't say I had any problems with rodents or anything. Sure, hiccups come and go, like with my bag. Now I wasn't able to cook properly or clean a lot, but I think I'm gonna survive. Yeah, definitely. Apes together strong, yeah. I feel like the most important is this is communication, and if a solution is fine for both parts of a relationship, that's perfect. I also think that everyone should know how to live alone. Yeah, I think everyone should know how to live alone, but if there's dependencies forming, that's like fine, but they should, like, I really don't like how you say this, like dependencies which are dependencies which are not balanced officially. Does that make sense? Like, for example, my grandma, she was like a stay-at-home wife. And now because she never paid into the like elderly, like how you call this, like Renten. Anyway. Yeah, it's like it's if you're old, you can't work anymore, and then you get money from somewhere. Pension? Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So she was a stay-at-home wife. She had like 5 kids. And so she never put money into the pension fund. And in Germany, the amount you get out of it is highly dependent on how much you put in it and your wage, which you have earned before. So basically now she lives at the absolute bare minimum and still needs to work, even though she's already in pension, like far into pension age. And my mom to like clean and stuff to like earn extra cash, basically, because otherwise it wouldn't be enough. And although this luckily works different in the Netherlands, which I think is better because here everybody has the same pension. And you can like, if you're on your own, like, you know, work on more pension, that's good for you. But everybody like from the state has the same. And to me, for example, because I'm at the moment, I'm basically also a stay-at-home wife. And we have like a contract, which is basically in my favor. Because it's basically till I can support myself, he will still support me, which is then actually fair, because otherwise I would be dependent on not splitting up financially and wouldn't have the like free choice to stay or split up, which is also good for him, right? Because otherwise he would be in like a sort of like toxic relationship, because I would maybe stay without even wanting to stay, but just because I'm financially dependent on him. And now he can be sure that if I stay out of free will. And I feel like that's a value which is often neglected. I think like we don't see it as important, but I think everybody really wishes to be chosen. And I feel like this feeling to actually be chosen is also like easily broken. Like if we know there's a dependency, like even if we try to just like don't think about it and stuff like this, like we know it in our brains and we still won't feel chosen. And I don't know, I feel like it's really important for people to feel chosen. If my grandpa had died before my grandpa, he would have been lost because he never did laundry, cook, or do anything in the house. He just couldn't have lived by himself. That's also a thing, like genuinely. That's the thing my mom recently said. Like, if she would like die or get injured or something, oh my god. Like, that would be so rough. That would be so rough for both of them. Because my mom has high standards, right? And my stepdad, no, he doesn't. No. It's tough. It's tough. That would absolutely throw them in the biggest crisis whatsoever. My mom actually, like, this point of not being dependent, like this will to not be dependent of my mom is so huge that she literally says, like, if she's someday old and would be dependent on somebody, she would rather die. Like, she's gonna, like, go up a hill and never come back, stuff like this. Like, she's so scared, or, like, she's so sure that being dependent is basically less worth than life, that she would rather choose death over being dependent, while my stepdad is the entire time dependent. Like, that's so far apart. Like, you have a person which would rather be dead than dependent, and then you have a person who's never been, like, independent their entire lives. Like, that's honestly, that's really insane to me. Yeah. I definitely think it, like, if the dependency is like unbalanced, it's gonna become an issue. But even if the dependency is balanced, I just think you shouldn't be dependent. Like, you can have a pattern of like somebody does this, But I think you should never get to the point where you on your own can't do this. For example, like cooking. Like, maybe I just cook better and like really like cooking, you know? And then Zach doesn't cook. That's okay. But he should be able to, if I leave, cook for himself and not basically like low-key starve or have like a nutrient deficiency while I'm not gone because he can only make one meal. Like my grandpa famously only was able to do one meal properly. And if my grandma would leave, he would always, like that's of my dad's side, he would always only make that one meal and go out for dinner and like breakfast and all of this the entire time. So it's like, I don't know. I think you should be able to pull your own weight if need be. Like also if somebody just, for example, breaks their leg or something. You know, like you
Or like some short moment, I thought about just going out for dinner like a lot because it only costs half the price when you're not coming.
You know that's still expensive though, right?
Yeah, I do. It's 50% cheaper.
It's not even 50% cheaper. Okay, for Korean barbecue it is because we pay the same but we don't eat the same. And for ramen it is as well because actually no, would you even be satisfied with one bowl of ramen? Usually you get my last bit as well. And with pizza as well, you usually get like a few pieces of my pizza as well.
I need like a snack after.
See? I don't even eat the whole pizza. You eat my part of my pizza and your pizza.
But also I didn't go.
Man. I mean, sure, let's just say if a relationship is 50-50 and one person and the relationship gets unable to provide the 50, it should be a no-brainer that a healthy relationship should also work on a 20-80 for the time being, just to put some numbers on it for easier measuring. Yeah. I think definitely, like, I don't know, like, if you can't, like, your relationship is not really strong if it wouldn't work if somebody is, like, not on their best health. Like, everybody gets sick sometimes. Everybody has, like, parents dying sometimes, you know? Like, there's things which happen. And in these moments, your relationship can either fall apart because you're not able to provide, or your relationship can go on because you just fill the gap, you know? And that's even on a daily basis. Like this 50-50 gets like, basically like, it's so, I don't like calling it 50-50 because for one, I think this like, it gives this, for some people, it really means this very like nitpicky 50-50 specifically, also just like making everything 50-50 instead of being like, oh, that person cooks, that person cleans the bathroom, basically being like, okay, 1 week I do all of this, the other week you do all of this, which I think is absolutely stupid. Like, I think the beauty behind a relationship is that the 50-50, like the 50-50 is basically making life easier because everybody, like, you make a compromise, but usually you can do more of the things you don't mind doing and avoid more of the things you do mind doing because the other person don't mind these and can do them easier than you do them. And then both of you have less work and more happiness because you can just let somebody else do like get the trash out because it's like so annoying to you, or like get somebody else to figure out the like interior design of your apartment so it looks nice because you really can't be bothered with that, you know? Like, it's really like you put your best skills together, and usually there's something like better out of this. And also, what I don't like about the 50-50 statement is that for some people, they just see this as like an invitation to believe that they're objective about what's 50-50. And yeah, I don't mean you. I think you definitely got it, but I just want to clarify that because I think it's so important. because some people believe that they can objectively, for themselves, determine if it is 50-50 or not. And if that's the case, you can be sure that both people in the relationship believe they do more than the other person. Like if you're ever that person who yourself makes an evaluation of if you do more or less, you for sure are going to believe you do more than the other person. And this is going to turn into resentment and a conversation which needs to be had. But yeah, so that's sort of the thing. Actually, I have like a post I was making about some things of relationships. And I just thought I'm gonna bring them up because we're anyways on that topic, right? Like, why not make a deep dive? Oh, true. So I only can do till 30, so we need to do a quick deep dive. Actually, you know what? Let's leave it for the next time. Because I already have, like, these are huge points, and I don't want to rush them, actually. But we have, like, 24 minutes left, guys. And then we actually go to relationship therapy. Might be one of our last sessions, actually. I mean, that is why healthy communication is the important stuff. If I don't care or don't like certain aspects because they are not important for me, but my partner loves doing that, by all means, go wild with it. Have your fun with it. At it. Absolutely. I do believe I was always the person who would say communication is the most important. And then I had one time, and I have to think back to that person because I thought they were rude. But I had one time somebody come and chat and argue with me that communication is really not that important, but that like confidence in yourself, like that self-confidence is more important. And I was sort of like discussing with them, and then they basically just left the chat in the middle of the discussion without saying anything, and I thought it's absolutely rude. But I do believe now that self-confidence and self-love and knowing what person you are, who you are, is really important. I think the best communication, sadly, does not matter if you don't know who you are as a person. Because you're gonna be inconsistent the entire time. You're going to be sometimes led by anxiety. You're going to be sometimes led by trauma. You're going to be sometimes led by past things of past situations. You're not going to make sense. You're not going to know who you are. You're going to go back and forth the entire time. You're going to be unsure. Maybe, like, if you don't stand behind yourselves, you're probably also going to have an issue about boundaries. Having an issue about boundaries leads to, for example, resentment. For example, for basically not telling your partner your boundaries and then they like crossing them, but you not even saying anything, and then having like this hidden resentment. It leads to you're not really being able to like incorporate your life into the life of the partner because you don't really know what your life should be or look like. And it also leads you to not standing up to your partner because sometimes you do need to stand up. And it's like important to stand up. It's not nice to just like keep the harmony under all circumstances because you become this person with no character basically, and that's not really a person you like. A healthy relationship, like as like a person in a healthy relationship, you probably don't really love that person because that person has no character. It doesn't give you anything. It doesn't feel equal. And so I think communication definitely is really important, but I think the more important is that you know who you are and you have confidence in your character. Because only then you can be vulnerable, you can be accountable, you can be all of these things which are necessary to actually fix mistakes, to actually fix problems there are, to take responsibility and be reliable, to really work on this relationship with the other person and take action if there's something wrong, because only then you would ask for more. Only then you will work towards progress. And I think that's absolutely necessary to lock into your relationship. Because Zach and me, I always worked on communication, and we were together now like 10 years. But for honestly, the first 9 years, Zach wasn't locked in. And that was only because this confidence of his character basically was missing. And he was just going along with me. And I tried everything with communication. I said all of the right things. We literally, like in couples therapy, it was so annoying because I literally said those things to him before, but they didn't click. And then in couples therapy, we got this stage basically to stand behind ourselves instead of having to choose behind standing behind the relationship and maybe breaking up. But we got the like safety to be able to just stand behind ourselves and sort of like stand behind our own character. And that's also like with Zach's own therapy of like working on like self-love and self-confidence was really important in that sense. And before that, all of the communication did not matter, sadly. It just didn't matter. Because even Zach didn't know what he wanted. Even Zach didn't know why he did that. And so, yeah. Hi, Julian. I didn't want to say hi before because I thought you were only lurking, but welcome. I'm glad you take part in the conversation. Always happy if there's more than a one-on-one conversation, because I really like more opinions and multiple opinions, because sometimes it can be that, especially because Nadim and me are so like usually like even on topics, we just go. We don't even know like if we're going the right way because we're on the same way. We never question if we're on the right way. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's really hard to value different things. And I think if you're at the point where you try to value them, like you already feel like you're either being exploited or, you know, like, why do you care to value them? It's like you only value things where you want to have that calculation. Like, is it like, am I actually not doing too much? Like, you know, it usually comes from this point of being unhappy with the situation, thinking you do too much, or the other person doesn't do enough, or maybe even you do too little. And then like, but it always starts with this feeling of being unhappy with what you do. And I think any of this unhappiness is always valid, but I don't think the right approach is to try to make it into like an analytical argument of like, I do this and this and this and this, and therefore logically I do too much and you should do more. But it's always a question of feelings, and you should talk about this always with feelings. You should be like, oh, I feel so exhausted the last few days. Can you help me somehow? Or can we find like a different compromise or whatever? Or, you know, like there's a feeling beneath that urge to get like a logical explanation for it. And I think usually you look for this logical explanation because you yourself don't validate your own feelings. And now you need like a logical reason to validate those feelings. So basically, you don't say what's actually going on, because actually you might feel exhausted, you might just feel sad, you might just feel like you don't want to do this, like this sucks, like bringing the trash out sucks, it stings, ugh. But you don't feel like that's, like your partner will believe you or will listen to you, or there's room and space to talk about things. And then you need this like logical reason to bring it up and to be right about this, to ask for more, to ask for help. Like, it usually starts within ourselves because it's like our worldview, how we perceive the world, right? So if you yourself, for example, are really bad with validating your own feelings and feeling like you can ask for more and you can ask for help, then usually you kind of project this picture onto the world as well. And that's why you then look for logical arguments to support your feelings, because your feelings on your own you don't validate, but the logical arguments hold more weight. That's a thing I specifically did a lot of times, because I also didn't really understand feelings, and it was really hard because I'm maybe autistic, who knows. And yeah, I think it's like really important to just don't do that. To just see that feeling, being like, I'm unhappy, and then go to a partner and be like, you know, I just, in the last couple of days, I've been unhappy with the task I have to do. I feel like overwhelmed, I feel exhausted, I feel like it's too much. And sometimes you don't even need to change anything, you know? Sometimes you just need to talk about it because maybe work just has been really much. Sometimes you can just talk about it and then make the compromise that like one task just gets neglected, but like two people agreed on this, and then nobody is like up your ass about it, you know? And then the communication is clear, the expectation is clear. Sometimes doing less isn't bad for anybody in the relationship, and I think that's really nice and valuable to know. So the feelings and views of that partner are absolutely invalid, because that is part of communication. I mean, sure, your own values should also be represented, but without knowing through conversation about the values boundaries of your partner, how is this even a relationship? And I'm not talking about avoiding unfavorable topics. I think you should absolutely be able to talk about the bad stuff, because you both need to at least understand the other person if you don't agree. And I don't mean the extreme things here. If my partner murders someone who thinks this is cool and fun, be like, nah, bro. Yeah, so, but that's sort of why I think communication is the second thing, because you first need the will to communicate, to think that you deserve to be heard, to be listened to. You deserve to be accepted with this. And also that your partner deserves to know and to be involved and stuff like this. But I think for this very specific thing, you just need to be sure of yourself first and have this confidence, the self-confidence, inner confidence to take up space. And then you have communication. But I think, because right now it's like, before we like, things came up, right? And then I tried to communicate, but we weren't really, and Zach also tried to communicate and do his best. But we just never really got to a point where things changed. Like, we could communicate about stuff, but nothing ever changed because he wasn't in it. And that just didn't really help with anything. You know? We just had the same conversations like over and over again. And yeah. So that's why I believe the self-confidence comes first, and then the communication comes second. And for me, honestly, because I always, like, from my mom already, I sort of had this like independence, or like this will to take up space, I guess. That to me, it seemed like this is not like a possibility that there's something missing, you know? Like, the communication is the most important, and whatever. Because I never experienced that myself. But of course, I picked exactly the right person to teach me this. That, yeah, the best communication doesn't help if you have a person who doesn't believe they're worth to communicate, you know, and to take up space. So always doubting whether they can, like, should ask for this. And then they don't ask for this, and then later on resent you because there's been building something up under the surface and stuff like this. So yeah, best communication doesn't help for that, sadly. I did a group therapy about social skills a few years ago, and I learned the gewaltfreie Kommunikation. With this type of communication, you have different steps. I see, I feel, and I wish. This allows you to express your point of view without accusing the other person of anything of being unfair. Unfortunately, you also have to learn that not everyone can communicate this way. But it helps me a lot in unpleasant situations to express myself. Yeah. I think it's like generally like the concept of understanding that you yourself will always have a very subjective view of reality is really helpful. Like reality will always look different to other people. Like just the way humans work. Like I made like a whole podcast episode about this. Well, it took like an hour about this, but basically to cut it short, biologically, like all our senses influence how we see reality, right? So what stands between our brain and reality, actually, how we perceive it, is already different to other people, right? So like a blind person doesn't perceive reality the same way a seeing person does. And then there comes the brain, because the brain is also different from anybody else's brain, right? We know that, for example, traumatic experiences change the brain. We know that a lot of different things actually change the brain. For example, also neurodivergencies. So also that is different to a lot of other people, right? Then not only how you think, but also how you feel and how your body sort of like, how you yourself notice these feelings is different. So for example, for me, a lot of feelings are very delayed, which makes it really hard in these situations sometimes. But that's just, yeah, that's just sort of my thing, I guess. I don't know, it's also like an autistic trait. And that makes it also different to how I can like talk about everything, right? And so you have all of these things already. And that's only the reality you yourself perceive. Then, to actually tell somebody that reality, you need to communicate with them and communicate your reality to them. So then your brain and everything you've gone through, like all of this, again, is influencing how you describe that, like which words you use, which language you use. For example, if it's your mother language or not. Then which part of the country you come from. Like there's some dialects, for example, where people use something else. Not only that, which family you come from. Some families have like a different rhetoric than other families, and that's influencing how you describe things. And then the other person needs to interpret this and is interpreting it with all of their experiences, right? And how their family uses specific words and stuff like this. So all in all, talking about stuff and perceiving reality, the reality will never happen. Will just never happen. Like it's a definitely no-brainer. Like nobody actually perceives reality. And honestly, that's sort of also good, right? Because like that means you don't need to perceive reality to advocate for yourself, because actually the science never mattered. Like it never mattered if you officially have reason to validate your feelings, because your feelings are always valid, and you should have led with these feelings first anyway. So yeah. Of course, you should be self-confident in what you want to communicate or what you stand for. If you feel like you can't do that with your partner, I personally am not sure if that is the right thing to be in a relationship then. I mean, if that only happens because of miscommunication or that your partner doesn't receive the message like you wanted to send, it can always be that your partner works on a different view set than you because of different experiences. Often it can help them to get on the same level, so to speak. Damn you, Twitch, and your limitations. No. Well, I do half an hour and then ads come. But I'm definitely with you on that. And I do agree, actually, also with our relationship, that back then, I think we shouldn't have stayed together. There was no communication, or like there was a lot of communication, but there was no successful change coming from that communication, because there was something in between us. And the annoying thing is, we were both not really aware what that was, because Zach didn't even see it as a possibility to be that vulnerable to your partner, to open that much up. Like the way he learned about society, that just didn't exist. And for me, it was like, well, if he says that, I believe him. And like, I didn't believe like everything. Like when I got a gut feeling that this is like bullshit, I asked more questions and more questions and more questions. But like when we talked for so much, like he explained what he felt. There was no like lying. Like he explained what he felt. He explained everything about that situation and how it's like so confusing to him. And he got really in his head about stuff. But what was actually missing was that he knew which type of person he is and what person he is. Like in that moment he felt that way, but like a second later he felt different. Like it was very inconsistent because he himself wasn't sure of himself. So the communication wasn't giving a consistent picture because there was no consistent picture. And that was the thing. And I think that back then, because we moved together instantly after having lived with our parents, and I was already very independent at that point, but he wasn't. And he should have lived alone for like a few years to just figure out like what he wants in life, how he wants to figure out life, what challenges are there in life and how to fix them himself. The funny thing is, knowing his mom, even if he would have moved out, she would have been up in his business the entire time. So maybe it would have never happened. But yeah, it definitely is a struggle. It has been a struggle. And it's the most annoying struggle because, yeah, no amount of communication actually helps. Because it's just, if you don't trust in vulnerable communication, in honest communication, and if you're still influenced by like past experiences like this and stuff, because you just, I don't know, you're just sort of suppressing stuff and avoiding stuff, and then they pop up like randomly, then it's just there's no real point. So yeah, exactly. But that's the annoying part, right? So then communication actually fails as well. And for us, yeah, I'm really glad we started couples therapy, because I honestly, I low-key, I was always like hoping for this, what we have right now. But I was always doubting if it's possible, depending on the experiences we got through and how they were going. And I was too stubborn to leave, which I should have. But well, now it doesn't matter anymore. But I'm just saying, it would have been like, honestly, I think it would have been easier if we would have like taken a break from our relationship, been apart for like, I don't know, like a year, 2 years or something, or just lived apart, and then like came back together if we have figured our shit out and stuff. Because there's definitely like some situations and like patterns we like build over these years, right? Which are really like deep in our being. So now we have to get over those, and that's a struggle. But even then, like now, it has been like since half a year or something, it has been like really nice. And we were able to talk about stuff like way easier. And now all my communication training comes in clutch. I can't explain to you how satisfying it feels to get this like positive reinforcement through therapy that I said the right things and stuff. Because at some points I honestly felt like, is that maybe just not how life works? Like, am I crazy? And no, I was right the entire time. And it's like not a right in like about statements which are like a very definitive and like very strict, yeah, which project a very strict image or something. It's more about sort of like systems and how sort of interactions work and stuff like this. So it's more theoretical, so to say. But it's still like, it's very rewarding to know that I was on the right track. And now I can actually use all of this knowledge that I have gained through like reading all of these books, reading about this stuff, listening to podcasts like these and stuff like this, and actually use it and it just works. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know that that mom theme, my mom was the same. Even after I moved out, she always wanted to stay in my business. And when I cut her off, she didn't even understand why, because in her eyes, she didn't do anything bad. And when I told her that she has no business in this, we sadly have still the issues with his mom. Like, we don't have contact to her right now because she is really not understanding how to not get in your business and how to just treat you as an independent person. Like, it's really sad, I think, because she's not a bad person. Like, honestly, I kind of like her, but she really doesn't respect personal boundaries. And that, no. No. And she hated me for this back then because I have personal boundaries. Like, I have personal boundaries in like specific cases. Like, I don't have boundaries in every situation, and I need to work on my boundaries as well. But like in this very specific case of like, for example, like, you don't come in my room, like, why do you touch my washing? Like, I decide what I wash and what I not wash and stuff like this. Like, I decide where I put my stuff in my room and stuff like this. I decide what I put in my room and stuff like this. Like, there's like a very set view on like, my shit is my shit and you keep out of it, okay? And she didn't respect that, so that's how we sort of like started butting heads. Especially when we first got together, we were already like, you know, like intimate and stuff. And she still went like in his room and got like the washing and stuff like this. And even also she washed my clothes as well. Bro, that was not fine for me, and that was not fine. Like, just, I didn't even know, you know, and then like all of a sudden there were my strings on the washing line in the main room. I was just like coming out of the room not knowing about anything and then seeing my yeah. Like, bro, that was not okay. I mean, I can understand, or at least try to take the view of a parent in this. And it probably isn't easy if your kids don't need you anymore, but if you try to keep them independent, they never learn to be their own person and learn to live their own life. Yeah. I mean, that's basically her theme. Like, she really wants to be needed. She was already sort of like I understand her whole theme. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, I know why she wants people to be dependent. But the thing is, we would, like, there's really, you can't, like, we sort of like, I try to move this to a point where it's like we involve you, and we involve, like, we you know, we involve you so you feel like you're important to us, and you're, you know, like, sort of like as an option to, we're not dependent, but we just involve you a lot. But there's no, she wasn't able to turn off this entitlement to our private space. Not to defend this in any way. I mean, I don't talk to my parents anymore either, but at least try to understand why it happened, so that the meanings to tell them what happened about them trying to gaslight my, wait. At least try to understand why it happened, so that I have the meanings to tell them what happened without them trying to gaslight me into overthinking. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, definitely. I absolutely understand why she is that way. Just sadly doesn't really change the fact that she hates me. And I think it's specifically for understanding why she is that way, honestly. Like, there's some people who really don't want to know about their mediocrity and really want to, like, brush it under the carpet. Yeah, I know, we need to go. We need to really go?
Almost.
Okay, we need to almost really go.
I don't like that.
Let me show you guys my t-shirt, by the way.
Bro! We need to really go!
You said we don't need to really go yet.
This is me.
I love this t-shirt. Same here. I'm mean my on last year, but one condition was that we meet on neutral ground and you never invade my space at home or try to push towards that. Bro. Ah, yeah, true.
Okay, that's it.
Okay,
That's
I gotta go. To sit here and think it could be so easy. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes with her, but she's also very dramatic. She still believes she's right and we're wrong, so that's like a major point, sadly. But we're gonna see each other later, maybe. I don't know when I will have time. I don't know if I have like 2 therapies today or only 1. Okay, I have only 1 therapy